1,000 conversations, a million memories, and now an ocean between us. Why didn't anyone tell me that distance would test my love? Because sometimes silence stretches on, and it's no longer comfortable or peaceful. It's heavy. Silence can be a wall, isolating you in the middle of a crowd. Marco wandered through the bustling city streets, feeling utterly alone. Tall buildings surrounded him, but within them, people he didn't know lived. His gaze met theirs briefly, but no shared smiles or nods occurred. Everyone seemed absorbed in their own lives. He was a stranger here, while the faces blurring together formed a landscape devoid of familiarity. This place had become a prison, a concrete jungle where love had turned into a whisper in the wind. He walked aimlessly, searching for solace, or perhaps for answers. But the city offered none. Its noise drowned out his thoughts. They told you that distance strengthens love, but no one tells you that 48 hours of silence weigh heavily. No one prepares you for that silence that isn't made of anger, but of thousands of miles, and that the way you handle that silence is the most important thing. He stopped in front of a small flower shop. Inside, amidst the vibrant colors, he noticed a basil plant. The aroma brought back memories of his home, of her kitchen, of shared laughter, of warmth and connection. That basil plant had been a gift from her. She had planted it with love and care, just as she tended to their relationship. Now he saw it again, alone, just like him. When you miss someone deeply, you tend to remember everything. Every shared glance, every touch, every whispered word. You relive those moments, cherishing them as if they were the last. And maybe for her, the silence was deafening because it lacked his essence. The way he always surprised her, the way he made her laugh, the way he knew her so well. Do you ever realize that the most beautiful moments aren't the ones you share, but those you silently understand? The language of love isn't spoken but felt. In the morning, she brewed coffee, 2 cups, one with milk, the way he liked it, the other black, the way she preferred it. It was a ritual, a silent conversation between them. They understood each other without words. Steam rising carried unspoken messages. Silence isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it becomes a barrier, a vast expanse that swallows whispered words and stolen kisses. When the distance is measured not in steps, but in time zones, the silence echoes with longing. 48 hours of silence is a lifetime when love is all you have to hold on to. In the heart of a bustling city amidst the relentless rush, she sat quietly. The city's energy buzzed around her, yet she remained immersed in her thoughts. Time seemed to slow down, allowing her to reflect on the weight of those 48 hours. The absence of his voice, his touch, echoed around her. The silence became a canvas on which she painted memories, reliving moments that once filled their home with joy. They said the distance would make their love stronger, but forgot to mention that love needs nourishment. It needs to be watered daily. Otherwise, the roots dry up and the flowers wither. Did they ever tell you that loving someone from afar tests your soul? That it turns every second into a lifetime? Every minute into an eternity? Suddenly, she felt an overwhelming urge to visit him, to cross the miles that separated them and immersed herself in his embrace once more. The thought brought a smile to her lips, chasing away the shadows of those lonely hours. Love shouldn't be measured by distance, but by the depth of connection. And their bond was unbreakable, forged in moments of profound understanding. They told you that distance strengthens love, but no one tells you that 48 hours of silence can be deafening. No one tells you that the silence can be filled with the ghosts of unspoken words and faded smiles, and that the way you fill that silence is what truly matters. Yes. As night fell, he stood by the window, his gaze fixed on the city lights. The sky was a canvas of twinkling stars, yet his eyes sought the familiar constellations of her smile, her laughter, her presence. The city stretched before him, vibrant and full of life, yet he felt isolated in his thoughts. The silence was a constant companion, whispering stories of longing and devotion. You must have noticed how even breathing becomes a silent conversation when you miss someone deeply. How every sound seems to carry their echo, how every shadow resembles their form. It's a strange paradox. In the midst of a crowd, you're never alone. In the quietest room, you're never silent. There are phrases better than "I love you." You don't find them in books, but in the way she looks at you when she doesn't think she's being watched. In the way he makes your coffee exactly how you like it, without you having to ask. Our secret language. It was our secret language. It wasn't just words that bound them. It was a tapestry woven with threads of understanding. Look, a gesture, a shared silence spoke volumes. Their love wasn't confined to words. It thrived in the spaces between them, in the unspoken, the unsaid, the understood. They told you that distance tests love, but no one tells you that love has its own language. Language without words, without boundaries, without farewells. A language of shared dreams, of intertwined souls, of moments that transcend time and space. Sometimes saying "I miss you" feels inadequate. Saying nothing at all feels unbearable. So you create a language of your own, a language of love, a language of absence. And in the quiet solitude of their separate lives, they found solace in the memories they shared. Each memory a precious jewel, each moment a treasure to be cherished. They held on to these memories, allowing them to sustain them through the silence. You miss her so much that every sunrise brings back the memory of her smile. Every sunset reminds you of her absence. Every teardrop reflects her image. And in that reflection, you search for answers. When the silence stretches on, you realize that the greatest love stories aren't just about the grand gestures, the passionate declarations, or the vows exchanged under a canopy of stars. The greatest love stories are about the everyday miracles, the shared silence, the unspoken understanding, the love that continues to thrive despite the distance. Now imagine a love that doesn't seek possession, but companionship. A love that doesn't demand words, but understands silence. A love that doesn't fear distance, but embraces it. This is the kind of love that Marco and Sophia shared. And that's why when those 48 hours of silence descended upon them, it didn't weaken their bond. It tested it, yes, but it also strengthened it. Because they understood that their love wasn't about physical proximity. It was about the invisible threads that connected their souls. They told you that distance separates lovers, but no one tells you that distance also reveals who truly loves you. Because it's in the silence and the absence and the longing that you discover the depth of a love that doesn't need words, a love that doesn't need distance to thrive, a love that doesn't need anything else but itself to endure. They told you that distance weakens love. But no one tells you that sometimes it's in that weakness that love finds its strength. Because when you truly love someone, the miles become bridges, the hours become moments, and the silence becomes a melody of shared understanding. And that's what happened to Marco and Sophia. They didn't need to fill the silence with words. They didn't need to measure the distance with hours or days. They didn't need to prove their love with grand gestures, because their love was in the silence. in the shared memories, in the unspoken understanding. Their love was in the little things, in the basil plant, in the old photos, in the silence that wasn't empty, but full of meaning. That's why when those 48 hours of silence ended, it wasn't with a flurry of messages or a flood of emotions. It was with a shared smile, a knowing glance, a silent understanding, because they knew that no matter how far apart they were, their love was always there, connecting them, binding them, sustaining them. So don't let anyone tell you that distance kills love, because sometimes it's in the distance that love finds its true meaning. And if you enjoyed this story, please give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more such tales of love, life, and everything in between. Thanks for watching. See you next time.